ahead. Take it away, Mike.
Well, thank you so much, Poppy, and hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the West Coast Songwriters Video Vault. Please take a moment to follow and subscribe to the West Coast Songwriters on social media. My name is Mike Annuzzi, and I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Music Accelerator, Mike Annuzzi, and hashtag Mike at the Mic. I'm so happy to have our special guest joining us today in the West Coast Songwriters Video Vault. Dakota Green is a country music recording artist and songwriter from Alabama's Gulf Coast. He got his start in music at an early age by doing national competitions, and before long he was playing concerts all around the U.S. He regularly performs at some of the best venues on the Gulf Coast alongside major artists with 20,000 plus audiences. Dakota has set roots in Nashville, where he has been recording and releasing some outstanding music. He recently began working with our friend Wendy Hope and Myriad Productions, and we are all anticipating his full-length album set to release later this year. Please welcome Dakota Green. Dakota, thank you for being here with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. That was quite the intro. I appreciate it.
It was really hard to condense everything that you have going on into an introduction. But first and foremost, I'm generally a big music fan. I listen to a lot of genres and artists, but there are just a few artists that I have to listen to their entire catalog. And you, my friend, are definitely one of those artists. I became a really big fan when I first heard your song, Moving On. Would you mind sharing with us the story behind that song?
I'd love to. Yeah, I actually wrote that song. The first verse and the chorus I wrote when I was still living at the beach, and I kind of had taken a break from doing music. I wasn't doing anything, and I was like lacking that purpose, and I knew it was time for something new. And I was working backstage for different artists and doing like the backstage thing. You know, it wasn't really about me or my music, and it was time for that to be, that season to be over. And I started writing and I almost didn't finish it. And then I'm glad I did because it turned out to be like this really cool, like it evolves with me, even though like the lyrics don't change or anything. It's like when I was in that place, it was exactly how I felt. And then I moved to North Alabama for a little bit before coming to Nashville. And it was like that season too, moving on. So I feel like I've moved on like 4 or 5 times. So that song is just my heart. It's who I am. It's my journey. And I'm just a dreamer out chasing dreams and trying to be as real as I can and as honest as I can.
Yeah, that's amazing. So with that story being said, you are the man in the music industry that's been wearing many hats. Like you said, you've worked in different areas of the music industry. Can you tell us a bit about how those roles have maybe helped you refine your craft and how you've been able to create such amazing music?
For sure. I think I'm one of those people that just kind of stands back and watches. I watch everything. And I try to do my research as much as I can on people and things. And I try to learn. And I did that for 5 years backstage. So I've watched all kinds of artists. I have I keep it on my wall. I want to remember where I came from. And I keep all my like tour passes and stuff. But just watching people connect with the crowd, people connect with their audience, their fans, and the way that they connect with the crew and how they treat people who are working for them. I've learned that people are going to watch me when I'm in that position. So I've kind of learned what people are looking for, and I go out of my way to make everybody feel like part of the team, because the artists that did that for me when I was working for them, like those are the artists that I really, really look up to now. Even if they may not have songs that I'm in love with, the way that they treated me like a human, that's rare these days. It's sad to say, but the ones that really went out of their way to treat me well, that meant so much to me that I want to do that.
Absolutely. It's really cool that you're saying that. Just from like the inside of West Coast Songwriters, I really feel like we have that in this organization where there are people that, they're beginners all the way up to the top of the industry. And it's really cool to have that opportunity to see what the others in the industry are actually doing to succeed. And it sounds like that's something that you've been able to do.
I try to. I want to make a genuine connection through my music, and even if they're not listening to me sing, I want it all to be cohesive. I want them to get that same experience no matter what. And that's why I try to pull all that into my music. I don't write constantly, but when I do, sometimes I'll write 3 and 4 songs because I'll just be in that zone of really knowing what I want to say. And I feel like that's so important.
Wow, very cool. So, I mean, I guess that being said, I do find myself listening to your lyrics just so enthralled, and you create such vivid stories in your songs. Can you tell us a little bit about your writing process?
Yeah, it's different. I have my phone, so I have notes in my phone constant, like even like little one sentences or even like 2 or 3 words, different concepts. I have voice memos. Sometimes I will record myself going down the road just talking about a subject and just trying to think, just give as much detail as I can, and then go back and listen to it later and try to pull out those details. I want to, most songs are like around 3 minutes, and I feel like they say, you just have one life. I feel like it's the same with your song. You have that one, that's your one chance to do that song. So I try to fill every pocket, make sure everything has a purpose. That's been my newest thing I've learned lately, is everything, not just lyrics and music, but everything I do having a purpose. But especially the lyrics, like making sure every single word, why did I say that? Or how will people receive this? And if maybe it doesn't make complete sense, then I'll refine it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow. And it really shows, especially with the several songs that you have up on your Spotify right now. I first heard about you maybe 3 or 4 months ago. And the moment I listened to one of your tracks, I had to listen to 2, and then I had to listen to 3. And it really does show. I got to ask you, I know that, again, you wear many hats. So are you playing a lot of the instruments on these recordings, or producing? How does your recording and production process look like?
So that is all magic by my producer, Josh Bright. He is from Alabama too, and he's worked with a lot of cool people, Uncle Cracker and T-Pain. He's a genius. And I think it's really important to have a producer that you just really, really connect with and that knows your sound. And I feel like he's helped me create my sound. And I'll go in and I'll either play him something on guitar, or I'll send him some really, really terrible production that I've done on GarageBand on my computer. And then he just makes magic with it. But I give him like the bare bones of what I have, and then watching him bring it to life is just really, really cool to me.
That's awesome. I've heard that with so many different songwriters, especially in West Coast songwriters too. Just so you know, West Coast Songwriters, it's an organization that we help develop a lot of careers of people in the music industry, but there's a lot of pros. And one of the things that I find beneficial is our songwriter competitions and live, and getting in front of people and sharing it with people that listen for what you think that you're playing in the song. But it's really cool to refine and develop and really narrow it down into that perfect release. So that being said, how do you know your songs are ready for release?
That's where you have to have a great team. So I'm constantly sending, I think I sent Wendy a song this morning. I'm constantly sending my team stuff at Myriad, and I get their feedback, and I get my producer's feedback. Of course, I'm really close with my family, so I get their feedback, and then I have a few really close friends. And usually if it's like a song like Moving On, it's going to be unanimous. People are, across the board, they're like, wow, wow, wow. But my thing is I never really know if it's good until they tell me. So I'm just like patiently waiting. Because in my mind, they're all good because they're like my babies. So I don't know which ones are going to be like the song. But I like to get feedback from different types of people. A lot of people that listen on music, they say they're not big fans of country music, but they love my music. When that makes me super happy to reach somebody who's not even in that fan base. So those fans are important because they have a different perspective. Then I have like my friend Adam, he's really into old country, traditional style. So I always like to get his opinion too, just because it's a different perspective than me. And so I try to do that with as many perspectives as I can. That way I can appeal to more people.
That is so cool, Dakota. I really love hearing that. It just seems like I could really tell with everything that you're saying, you've just been in this industry. You are this industry. It's so cool to hear your experience.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I'm kind of giddy right now because honestly, I'm a super big fan of yours. It's just kind of cool that we're doing this Zoom right now. So you did mention Wendy Hope, and for those of us listening right now that don't know Wendy, we've been lucky here at West Coast Songwriters to host Wendy. She's a talented artist. She's toured the world and opened for so many great artists, but she also has Myriad Productions, and she's been involved and is continuing to be involved with several West Coast Songwriters events. So I wanted to ask you, what is it like working with a company like Myriad Productions?
Right now they're both West Coast, Wendy and her business partner. So that's kind of challenging with the pandemic. But just working with someone like Wendy, who's so excited about stuff, you feel it. It comes, like, she's excited, then I get excited. Like, I was watching you interview her. I watched your video on the website getting ready for this, and I was watching her interview, and I was getting so excited about my music just hearing her talk about it. And having somebody like that keeps you excited in a business like this where there's constant rejection, even if you're good, it's always there. Having people like her and her business partner Steve, they keep me grounded, level-headed, and it's really everything that you need.
Absolutely. It's so cool to hear that. And just having, having different outside perspective, and also somebody that has, proven success. It's probably really amazing to work on that, but also it's a big reflection of who you are as an artist, that you've been able to notice in that world, and have someone that believes in you as much as you believe in yourself. And we're all rooting for you. I know Myriad Productions is rooting for you. I know you have a ton of fans all around. West Coast Songwriters is rooting for you. I got to ask you, you've played in front of some amazing sized audiences and some really great shows. What is that experience like?
Honestly, it's so weird. It's not what I thought it would be. I don't get nervous singing for huge crowds of people. It does not faze me one bit. But if I'm to go like 5 people, no. Like, I'll get really, really nervous for like 5 people. Like, I had to go do, I was talking to a record label a few months ago, and I had to go play for a couple people in an office, and I was like terrified. And I don't ever get nervous. I don't know why, but it's like the bigger the crowd, the less nervous I am. I guess it's more possibility that they'll like me. But I also I know that, like, with this industry, something that I always think about is every opportunity I have might be the last. No matter how good everyone says you are or what your goals are, you're not promised to be able to do that again. So when you're on a stage like that for that many people, I want to, I have a song called Hold On to This Moment. It's exactly about that. It sounds like it's a love story, but it's about like this journey. Every step of the way, I have a bad habit of getting in a hurry. So I want to stop, and I want to really enjoy every single moment. And this journey, been doing that, it makes me appreciate it a whole lot more. And it goes back to that grounded thing. It just really keeps you grounded to really appreciate it. Because if you're constantly working and you're thinking about the next thing, you're not going to enjoy that. And then 10 years from now, you're going to look back and not even remember playing for that many people or having those opportunities or opening for those people. So I feel like staying in the moment, staying humble, and realizing that tomorrow you could be in the crowd watching somebody else. That's just something that's really important to remember.
Absolutely. So what was it like then, I guess, developing your career and starting your career and building your career in Alabama on the Gulf Coast and playing all these amazing venues, to getting the courage enough, to leave your hometown and then move to Music City, Nashville? What was that experience like?
Well, I moved here right before winter from the beach. And it was like my first winter not at the beach, and it was so cold and so harsh. I had a really rough first couple months. I'm gonna be really honest. I had a couple heart-to-hearts with Wendy where she was like, you really just gotta stop being negative, and that, it comes back to that. You really have to have people like that are in the industry, because you can't just call up your family or your friends because they don't understand. They're not in the industry. So having those people to keep you positive really helps. But once I got my perspective straight and in order, it's been the greatest experience. I look out my window and I can see music grow. I never in my life thought that would ever happen, which is, it wasn't even a dream of mine to live here. I just want to do music. So it's things like that. And that's just a little thing, I can look out my window right now, but little things like that you don't think of, but it's, to me, that's a huge deal. And so I constantly remind myself that on the bad days.
That's very cool. And I'm sure it's very inspiring to be around that much music.
It is really, it's inspiring, but it's super intimidating as well.
I could imagine. I'm sure that you have to you have to really stand out in such an environment that's totally impacted by, I mean, it's the best of the best is all in Nashville. So
Yeah.
it is really cool to see you standing out and, you know, creating some amazing music at this point. Like I said, if you can't tell, I am a huge fan of yours already. So that being said, I'm really excited about your album coming soon. So what do you have going on? Oh, I'm sure. What do you have in the works coming up that we could share?
We haven't really had a chance to go over things since the pandemic. We haven't really we haven't made any like definite plans. I'm supposed to sing the national anthem at a Phoenix Suns game later this year, but I'm not really sure how everything's going to work out. I know a lot of music venues are saying that the artists are asking for more money and they're having to do less tickets to keep people apart. So I don't know how touring's going to work for the next year or so. But I definitely have the album going on. We have 20 songs, and I guess we'll start narrowing those down as soon as we get into the same city. But we have 20 songs that we all really, really love that we've narrowed down. I have 150 songs, I think, in my song library right now. We narrowed it down to our favorites, and we've recorded them. There's a few little tweaks that need to be made that we'll go back in and do. But the album's really close to being done, so I guess we'll pick a single, which, in my opinion, I think will end up being Moving On, just because I don't think it really had its moment when I put it out the first time. So I think we're going to end up doing that and then putting out the album, but nothing's for certain right now.
Yeah, I really do as a songwriter. And again, I'm focusing on the West Coast songwriters aspect of the songwriter. I listened to your song Moving On and I could totally relate. And I just feel like a lot of people have been in that situation. Well, it doesn't even mean a songwriter. I could just hear it in your voice, what you've been going through in that song. But anyone that's like having to just, you know, push through and go and just make that move, it's like such a cool song to hear. I truly enjoy it. I'm really looking forward to you narrowing down those songs for that album. I was only going to ask like a couple more questions before we turn it over to Poppy, but what was like your probably your favorite show that you've ever played in your life?
I played in, it was the first time I played for a huge crowd. I think it was 5,000 people, and it was in South Dakota. And I played 2 days. We played at a music festival on the Saturday for 20,000, but the promoter called me and asked me if I could play a preview show Friday night. And so I get there, and this is my first time playing for more than like maybe 100, 200 people. There was 5,000 people there. I played my set. It was South Dakota, so my name was on literally everything. Billboards, like Dakota this, Dakota that. It was the coolest thing. And I think I signed autographs for like an hour and a half. And like, I just like, once you do that, it's like, it's just the craziest thing. You're like, I don't know. I think it's because I try to keep myself so humble and not let it get to my head. So for me, it's just like I'm constantly in shock because I don't want to get to the point where I'm used to anything. But things like that to me are just like, it's such a gift. And it makes the times like when I wrote Moving On and I was in a really, really dark place and I wasn't happy, it makes all of that worth it. And so when those good things happen, I always cry happy tears because it really does make those times where I didn't think I could make it, it makes that important. And it makes it's like magic. And that's why I love music. I can take these dark times and these dark thoughts and I can turn them into something that can change somebody else's perspective or give them hope. And that's magic to me. I mean, I just think that is so cool.
I think that's absolutely beautiful. And I can tell the more I talk with you and now listening or thinking about your lyrics and going back and hearing your story now, I really feel like you definitely hang on to the moment that's in front of you and be grateful for all of that stuff that's right in front of you. I highly encourage anyone that's listening to this right now to follow Dakota Green, and get excited for his upcoming album release. I'm so honored that you are here today to share this story with us. At this point, I wanted to turn it over to Poppy. So Poppy, if you would be able to come back on and maybe you have some thoughts or insights you want to include here.
Absolutely. Well, I always like to listen in to Mike doing the interview process. I'm not a writer and I'm not a musician. I'm the one that pushes everything, right? So, but I like to hear his interview process because it gives me some great questions. And one of the things that came up for me when you were talking about lyric writing, you have like this perpetual soul journal, right? Where you're constantly, recording thoughts or what you're seeing or journaling what you're doing. And I just think that's awesome. During this particular time when we can't be connected in person, how has your writing changed?
That's a good question. The first month or so of being quarantined, I didn't write anything. I don't know if it was just like depression, just because I didn't know what was going on in the world, or I just couldn't tap into that creative space that I needed to for the first month or so. And I was like feeling really bad about it. But then the second month, I wrote like 10 or 12 songs. So it's just kind of like, I think it really just depends on my headspace. So I have to constantly check myself and make sure that I am thinking good thoughts and thinking good things, because that's what brings the music. But also like songs like Moving On do come from those dark places. So I feel like that's somewhere I could probably grow more, is to write in those dark times. But if I don't understand something completely, I can't write about it, so like when it all first started, I didn't know what was going on, and so I couldn't wrap my head around it, so I couldn't write about it, and I didn't feel like anything else was worth writing about.
Right. So it's like you have to be really grounded in your experience before you can translate it into lyrics. Yeah.
I have to be really immersed into it. Like I have to feel it, like breathe it. Like I have to be obsessed with the song, like, for it to be done, in my opinion.
Right. So I hear you giving a lot of credit to your team, which I absolutely believe in. One of my favorite mentors said, "You're nothing without a great team." And it sounds like you're really, really connected with that. And that will serve you well, because you really do need that all the way through. Doesn't matter how big you get, right? So
right. It takes a village.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said it takes a village.
Yeah, absolutely. A big village in some cases. So I would say, what advice could you give about building a good team around yourself?
I think if you stay true to who you are, and most importantly, you work hard, that they will find you. I looked for management, publishing deals, whatever. I mean, I've had things come and go through the years, but nothing really stuck. Nothing really felt right until now. And the right team found me when the time was right. So if you're staying true to who you are, and you're working as hard as you possibly can, you'll get noticed, and you'll get noticed by the right people, and you'll know when it's the right people, because it'll be effortless. It's like, we're like a family. Like from the very beginning, we were a family. Like the first time we met, we went out to eat, and it just felt so right. And I just knew, and when it's right, and you'll know. So just work hard and be yourself. And because that's what's going to get you noticed, is that genuine thing that only you can give.
Yeah, I'm watching one of these master classes, and Robin Roberts, who is on Good Day America, and she's been on ESPN, and she had great advice in that same area, where it was just like, yeah, you just have to absolutely be authentic with who you are. So it's great to hear that. Thank you so much, Dakota. I want to open it up to Eric if he has some questions. Eric, do you want to go ahead and unmute your mic?
Yeah.
Cool. Go ahead.
Try that again. There we go.
There you go.
Hey everyone. Hey, yeah, Dakota. Thanks for and Mike. Thanks for hosting this event.
Yeah.
Stoked to hear your stories. Yeah, I'm I guess what's the best way to put it? Quasi-professional musician. And I'm out here in Santa Cruz, California.
Nice.
And I'm a little over the hump in terms of making a full career in the music world. I'm 44 years old, and I'm okay with not having playing before 20,000 people crowds, and that's okay. I've got a good life out here, but I've been unfortunately had some crazy stuff happen in the last couple of years, very unenviable. That's given me the opportunity to focus solely on music if I want to. And it's one of those things that speaks to my heart. And I've been playing since I was started playing violin when I was 8 years old. So I have been playing for almost 4 decades here. But I write in the vein of sort of, Americana, a little bit classic country style. And so that's a little background on me. And so I definitely have a couple questions for you, Dakota, if you don't mind.
Awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. What, I guess one thing is about process a little bit. And I think, I a little bit, as Poppy said, I've got a little bit of the soul journal going on, and I've got, a notebook here, and I've got the iPhone with the notes and the recordings, and I've got like on my laptop, a bunch of different things in writing. And it feels like a lot of times I just have a lot of random parts all over the place. Do you have like a process that you've kind of worked out for, or maybe you don't end up with these random parts like I do, but for kind of combining a lot of these different ideas that are in these different locations and condensing them into a coherent message for a song?
I don't have, I'm terrible at organization, to answer that. So I'm right there with you. I'm great at organization, but not when it comes to my songwriting. I'll have stuff on my phone. I have stuff on my laptop. I have 4 different like notebooks with stuff going through it. So I'm kind of the same way. What I've learned though is the good ones will come back to you, and you'll remember, oh, I have that, and then you look for it. Or you'll be in the middle of writing something, and you'll remember something else that you wrote that was very similar, and then you can go find it. But I feel like if it's good enough to be in the song, you should remember it. But there is times where I will go through and just look at my stuff just in case I passed up on something. But most of the time, like most of my songs, the ones that we end up cutting, will be in my head for weeks, just constantly on a loop. And that's the ones that, you don't forget it. So that's kind of how I do it. But like I said, I don't want to lose all the other stuff. So I do go back through it. I don't really have like a set process. I think whatever works for you, I think is going to be the best thing. Because I don't think that there's an organized way to write a song, because especially like an emotional song, because it's chaos. So it's kind of finding a way to, I think that's the process, is organizing it, that's like when you write it. But I'm right there with you. It's kind of a little bit of everything everywhere.
Yeah. I'll follow up on that a little bit too. It made me think of, as you're saying that, the good ones come in. Are there times where you have a particular emotion or something happened and you're like, I know I need to write a song about this. I know it's not going to be that good, but I need to complete this journey for myself. And maybe it will be, but right now I know it's, this isn't the top of my list to record or whatnot, but for here, I've got to do it. Have you come across that at all? Because I feel like I sometimes hit that point where I'm like, I don't know if this is going to be really that good, but I feel this thing right now.
Oh, definitely. I have a song, I'm pretty sure it'll be on my album because it's one of my favorites. It's called Warm Beach, Cold Drink. And there's just one little line of that song that was just on a loop in my head, and I constantly just kept saying, I gotta write this, I gotta write this. I was working at Starbucks at the time, and all through my shift I kept hearing it. It's about going on, like quitting your job and going on vacation. So it would always be in my head when I was having a bad day at work, and it just kept on a loop. And then finally I had to sit down and write it, and I didn't think it was going to be very good, and I ended up falling in love with it. So definitely.
Okay.
Those are the ones that usually surprise you, the ones where you're like, okay, I'm just gonna do it.
Like, all right.
Right? And then you're like, whoa, I just wrote that. That's actually not bad. I mean, those are kind of, I like the ones that catch you off guard like that. It kind of surprises you like you're a listener for the first time.
Yeah, I think I struggle with, putting time towards that, thinking nothing may come of it, or it might not be something that the band or I perform, or,
Right.
kind of, all right, should I put the time in or not? It's kind of that decision-making process. And oftentimes I feel like I kind of half-ass it and don't do the whole thing and just kind of get a little bit out, where
Right.
maybe I should continue pushing a little bit on some of those ideas where I don't think it may be something in it. It could end up being, one of my favorite tunes.
Right. Or it could be just, doing that as an exercise, just finishing it just to finish it. That's something I've learned, is to finish every single song, because I had a bad habit of having like 500 half songs. So that exercise alone is a really great tip, just to finish everything, even if you don't think it's good.
Yeah, I think that I kind of fall in that spot a little bit. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us today, Eric. I'm glad you could participate. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for hosting this. I could probably ask questions for years here about this stuff. But those are my two big ones that I had going on.
Cool. Well, maybe we might have time, and I'll come back to you. I'm going to have Pete jump on and see if he has any questions. And if we have remaining time and Dakota's up for it, maybe you've got some more questions you can answer.
Hi, Dakota. How are
Hey.
you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. I was introduced to you through Wendy when Mike did the interview with Wendy, and was really impressed with your thinking outside the box and getting involved with all aspects of the music business. That was, yeah, and you have really stayed very centered and balanced and humble, as far as what I can see. I've been to Nashville. Actually grew up in the music industry in LA. In the 60s and 70s. I'm a dinosaur. So, I see a different aspect of the music industry. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure you do too, with your demeanor, and it's an easier way. People are easier to get along with these days, which leads me to a question on collaboration. Do you do much collaboration, and how do you go about doing that?
I do. I write with a lot of different people. Sometimes I set it up. Sometimes my team sets it up for me. I've had a chance to write with some really cool people. I wrote with Doug Johnson, who wrote 3 Wooden Crosses for Randy Travis, and that was really cool. And I'm writing with some other people. I wrote a song with a guy who's had 11 number ones, and we're actually cutting the vocals tomorrow. Nice. So that's exciting. So I love collaborating with other people, but most of my songs, I'd say 90% of them are just me by myself. That's because when I was in Alabama, I got used to not having co-writers, so I pushed myself to write everything by myself. Yeah. And that's just kind of the process that I taught myself. But I do love to collaborate as well.
Oh, good. And in these times, we're kind of connecting virtually everywhere. I'm a big proponent. I love audiences, and yeah, that 5 people, that's scary, especially family. Family would just freak me out. Family and friends. Oh my God, what are they going to say? They're either going to say, you're wonderful, and I really stink, or you're going to really be good, and they're going to, say, well, you weren't that good, But anyhow, it's fun. Where do you think, with all this virtual aspect of the music business that we're doing, and what do you think the future holds with your career? Is it going to be a kind of with yours and many people's careers, going to be a reboot, and you can reintroduce what you've done virtually in live situations? How do you picture it coming up?
You mean like performing?
Yeah, when you get back to performing, is it, and right now, how are you maneuvering through it, through the virtual stuff?
Well, right now I'm not performing really. I haven't really done any Instagram lives or anything. Like I said, I really didn't know how to process the pandemic at first. And I didn't want to make it about me. I didn't want to, not that I think that's what people are doing, but that's kind of what my thought process was every time I thought about it. I haven't done too much of that. I've been really, really just diving headfirst into my record and making a really, really great record. So I've been more so focused on the studio and lyrics and vocals and where I want the guitars heavier and all that kind of stuff for the last few months. So that's a great question, because I do need to start thinking about performing and getting everything lined up. But I'm open to anything. Any way I can connect with people and get my story and my heart out there, I'm down for it. I think stuff like this is so cool, but I also love doing like the live stuff. I like doing the writers' nights here in town. Those are super fun because you're usually getting to play for your peers, and you're getting to play for lots of different songwriters and people, which I'm not used to being at the beach. It's all tourists who love you. So I think it puts a little more pressure on you, which kind of makes you better. I love doing stuff like that. Really, any way I can connect with people. I mean, my mom used to make me sing in the middle of the grocery store. I don't really like to do that. That always made me feel on the spot. But most things, if I'm performing, I'm having a good time.
It looks like, and thank you so much, Dakota. It's been a pleasure meeting you virtually here, and this, you know, the silver lining to this pandemic is that we have been meeting people virtually across the globe. So anyway, thank you so much for doing this, and thank you, Mike and Poppy and Eric for being on. And I'll turn it back.
Thank you.
Right. So something came up for me there when one of the things I wrote down about you was this great mentorship potential that you have. And obviously with West Coast Songwriters, we have a lot of people who are in development phase. And the age spectrum and the genre spectrum is expanding, and we're looking to expand it even more. So it's so great to have you here today representing your genre, your age group, all of that good stuff. And so obviously we'll be looking to you and wondering if you'd like to, you know, do a virtual performance for our conference in September, or do anything that you can to be engaged with our community would be awesome. You have great energy, and it would be invaluable to our members.
Well, thank you. I would love that.
Very good. Yeah. Mike, do you have any other questions that came up for you when Pete was asking his series there?
I mean, Dakota, there's so much we could talk about. I really truly feel like you've experienced a lot. You're going with the flow. You're enjoying every moment. I think my only question is, when are you coming to California? We here at West Coast Songwriters are so honored to include you on the West Coast Songwriters team. So you know that you are always welcome here in California.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'm not sure. I was actually thinking about it earlier. I was going to talk to Wendy and see. She was supposed to come to Nashville, but something came up with her business partner, so they weren't able to come. I've been thinking about just making a trip out there just to get away from here because I've been locked inside. So you never know, it might be soon.
Good, Dakota. Well,
I figured if she can't come to me, I figured I would go to her and we could get some work done on the record, and I could go to California because I love it there. So.
I've heard that you have performed for her in some very cool parties that she's had, and some birthday events and some intimate family events and stuff. I've heard really great things, so I'm sure she'll love it. I'm sure we'll all love it. But Dakota, thank you so much. It's been an honor having you on today. Thank you for sharing your time with us and all of your experience. It's been really cool hanging out with you, and I can't wait to do it more.
Yeah, same here. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Dakota. And, you know, we'll keep in touch, definitely. Make sure you're involved because, like I said, your energy would be invaluable to our members. So really enjoyed hearing you today.
Thank you. Hopefully I'll see y'all soon.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your afternoon, evening there in Nashville.
Thank you. Y'all too.
We'll talk soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Eric.